Hey, welcome back. We have another interview here at the CSI Expo. This is Dogging It. Do us a favor, let us know if you can hear us okay, and please share, like, follow, all that good stuff. Mike, I'm really excited about this interview. How about you, man?
You don't even know, man. When I listen, I reached out to our guest because, as much as I love it, interviewing pool players and everything, my mental game when I'm playing is rough sometimes.
Trash.
And see, it's with friends like that is the reason why it's trash. Okay, no, but when I heard about what you're doing and when I think about professional players, athletes, I think about them focusing on all aspects, whether it's nutritionists or their physical fitness. But in pool, we all know mental health is such a big part of it. So I'm super pumped to have her on.
Yeah, so let's introduce her. It's Tara Donnino, and she's with Insight Performance Coaching. Tara, how's it going?
Doing well, thank you. So happy to be in Vegas, and I'm pumped to be on this.
Awesome,
you, guys.
awesome. Well, I want to get to know all about you, but we were talking a little bit beforehand, and it turns out that you play pool.
I do.
So tell us how you guys started playing pool and how all that came to be.
So when I was in grad school for sports psychology and mental health, I was in Massachusetts. I didn't know anybody. I'm not from there, so I wandered into a bar that had a couple of pool tables, and I just taught myself. I started messing around, and that's how I started meeting friends, and people would help me out, and that's how I kind of grew in the sport. And when I moved back to New York, I just started getting into that whole population there, and it kind of stuck.
Yeah. And so when did you kind of come to that point where you thought, hey, I have this like profession and I have this passion or I love playing pool. And what if I could marry those two?
Yeah. So I'm a licensed mental health therapist. That's been the case for maybe almost 10 years now. And I wanted to do something on my own. I wanted a side hustle. I'm a big traveler, so I don't know if anybody saw, I started the Traveling Mind because I really wanted to help travelers at the time. Then the pandemic hit, nobody was traveling. So
Great
I'm
timing.
All right,
Yeah, no kidding.
plan B. No, but during that time, I started helping a couple of people who happened to be pool players, and we started getting into sports psychology. And I'm like, man, I forgot how much I love this. I love working with athletes. I genuinely have a master's degree in it, and I'm capable. So I'm like, let me do this for real. And I've loved every minute of it since.
I was going to ask that. How great is it to go and marry your profession alongside with your hobby, your passion, your joy?
It doesn't feel like work. I honestly love it. And my favorite thing, I'll tell every client this, is the creativity I have in session. What I would do with you, I would not do with anybody else. That's the coolest thing. It's not a one size fits all. It's tailored to you.
You would have your hands full with Joey because he's a basket case at times, man.
Aren't we all though? Let's think about it. When you play pool, I was telling you before the interview, there's times where I'm comfortable and it's like there's peace and quiet in my head, and it's just things are happening and I'm not really thinking about them. I am, I'm thinking, but it's a clear thought. I'm just going to play this ball with low right, come one rail out to the center of the table. And then and like if you wrote that down in sentences, it would be like 3 sentences. It would be beautiful, beautiful literature, right? But then the times when I'm struggling, it's like 17 pages of crap between each shot of what if this happens? What if that happens? There's a waitress. Oh my gosh, what's
Like
happening?
you're in my mind right now, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
You have to remember all the different circumstances too. I mean, what happened that day, that morning on your way to the pool hall could affect the way you play. What happened yesterday, the circumstances at the pool hall, is there money on the line? Who's my opponent? Did he beat me before? There's so many different factors that come into play that really add or minimize the pressure that you feel, and in turn what happens in your head.
Yeah, Lord knows I struggle with that quite a bit, whether it's frustrations that I've had at home leading up to going and hitting balls, when I'm on a shot specifically where I know that it's given me problems in the past, and I'm like in my head, I've already dogged it. No pun intended. And then I can feel it. I can feel it in the sweat in my palms. I can feel it in my heart racing. And I've always been curious because I've talked to top players like an Albin comes to mind, right, where they've gone and talked about their mental training. We talked to the Cole brothers the other day, and they talked about how they've gone and adjusted on that. So this is why I wanted to go and have you on. Tell us how we can go and get a hold of you, man, first of all.
So I have a website, insightperformancecoaching.com, and all the information is on there. You could book sessions on there. The calendar is on there of when I'm available, and social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Insight Performance Coaching. So it's all there, and I'm very attached to my phone. I'll be responsive.
I know the feeling.
So, in terms of someone who would want to get your help, they reach out to you. What does it look like from there? Take us through, like, if I called you tomorrow and I said, hey, I need your help. What should I expect?
So the first thing I would encourage you to do is check out the website to see if you would want to do 1 session, a 3-session package, or a 5-session package. The packages are intended to be discounted, but it's your comfort level, and you don't have to use them week by week. It's as needed whenever you feel. So from there, I would just have you kind of follow the steps on the website, and we could talk about availability. And that's really it.
And it's virtual?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah. So it really
I
opens you up globally then, not just for domestic players.
Right. So I do virtual sessions. I could do in person if you're in New York. If you're not, sorry, I'm not flying everywhere. It'd be a very expensive
But you're here in Vegas, though, so you are available to do things while you're here also, right?
And I usually offer to, if you sign up for a session and you want me to watch you play, I would offer that for an hour. If you want me to analyze, if you set up, a live stream somewhere where you're sparring with someone or it's a match, I would watch it so that we could talk about your game.
Are you looking for more from the technical side, or is it more of just like how they're approaching it mentally? Because listen, when I'm playing pool and I miss a shot, the eye roll. I'm not quite like Mika, but I may have some like Mika-like tendencies, So,
I won't tell him you said that.
but is that what you're looking for, though?
I'm looking for both. Yeah. So I look at how your mechanics change based on your emotions. I look to see if your pre-shot routine sped up or slowed down. I look to see how your walk is. I look at your body language. I look at the eye rolls. I look at the pace, the rhythm, the feel. I look at your decision making. I look at a lot. So half I would say is technical, half I would say is mental and body language.
It's really interesting. So let me tell you about a scenario that happened with me yesterday, okay? And this is not making an excuse for why I lost, but I did lose.
Here it is.
But we're in the third game, okay? And there's a really close hit where the 1 ball's next to the 9 ball, and I was going to carry him off the 1 ball and make the 9 ball. So I'm standing at the foot of the table, and I put my cue up and ask for a referee because I'm kind of, I talked to my opponent. And I said, do you want to get somebody to watch the hit? He said, yes. So it wasn't even my job to get the referee, but I do this. So the referee comes over, and he comes up to chat with me. And when he does, he basically lectures me. Like, if you need to get me, come to the head of the table, raise your cue, shake it, then I'll see you. You just got lucky that I happened to see you from where you were. And
I'm on tilt and it didn't even happen.
Yeah, it was confrontational, right? Wow. And so then he's standing over my hit to watch it. And I had to take a few minutes and gather myself. And I'm like, it sounds silly, but it was an argument kind of that I had with this guy before I went to shoot. And I really believe it affected me.
Sure.
I even turned to my opponent and I said, man, this guy's got me on tilt before I hit this ball. Well, you call it soft. I call it reality.
Yeah.
So,
kidding,
I mean,
that's out of the norm of what should have happened in a pool game. So, what I would say is you have to be aware of what's out of your control. Other people's behaviors, for sure, out of your control. So when you kind of look into what's in your control, your response to it is in your control. You have to figure out, okay, what's the best way to respond to this so that I can continue playing effectively?
Yeah, I made a bad hit.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you,
the one was here, and the 9 ball is right past it, hanging in the pocket, and I shot the 9 ball straight in. I didn't even touch the 1. But how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing sports psychology for maybe the last year or so, and I've been a licensed therapist for, like I said, almost 10 years.
Are there any success stories to report as of yet?
Yes. So a couple of my clients, I guess I'll say their names because they've posted about it. Usually I'm very confidential. I'm very serious about privacy. But Jared Malmfeld from, I think he's from Chicago, Illinois, around there. He just won a tournament on Sunday, gave me a nice shout out. Kennedy Meeman is a junior player.
Okay.
She won the first junior, the JIC, the first
Yeah.
stop. She won that in January. And she was down 5-0 in the finals, came
Wow.
back.
You want to talk about mental strength?
Mhm. She's been working so hard. I give her so much credit. Let's see. There is a couple of players from Massachusetts that I work with that have won. I can't say their names. But yeah, a couple of success stories so far.
But you also have sponsor players too, no?
Yes.
That's how I first seen the Inside Performance Coach.
Yes. So another success story, Jen Beretta. She's one of my
People
sponsors.
might know her.
Yeah.
I've heard about her.
Yeah.
She just came in third at the first WPBA event last week. And my other sponsor players are Christina Tkach, Michael Yednak, and as of yesterday, Donnie Mills.
Awesome. So it's a wide range of players. It's not just seasoned veterans that are interested in this. It's from the juniors to the guys who have been there before.
Well, so I guess where do you draw the line? If somebody who's an APA 2 and just wants to get better,
There's no
you take
line.
them on as a client?
There's no line that I have. There's no standard. If somebody wants to improve their mental game, I'm willing to work with them. And there's no age limit, but the only line I would draw actually is if someone is being forced into it. If someone doesn't want the counseling themselves,
They got to be open to it.
Exactly. It's a difficult thing for me. If
Have
somebody
you had that before?
yes.
Yeah.
If somebody doesn't want to be there with kids primarily, if somebody doesn't want to be there, it's just like pulling teeth. It's not productive for them because they're not into it, and
Right.
that's fine.
I can see that.
Building off of that, I was talking to Michael Yednak yesterday. We were kind of chatting about it a little bit. And he said, you have to be willing to put in the work too. And that there's homework, essentially.
There's
things
work
you
along
need.
with that
Yeah,
too?
homework.
I give homework.
Homework. So,
Been a few years there, buddy.
yeah. So tell us about that.
So follow up with the homework. I always say, I'm not a teacher. I will not be mad or disappointed if you don't do your homework. There's no consequence here. It's really up to you, though. So I'll give things based on the session. And to be honest, no two homeworks are the same. What I would give to you, I would not give to Joey. They're just very, very different based on the session.
Oh, believe me, I know, because my man over here, as great as he plays, he can be a bit of a basket case at times.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. So tell us about your sponsor players.
So Jennifer is she just arrived. She's going to be playing in the event that starts tomorrow, the women's event. Jen and I are best friends, so a little different there, but she's just kind of a good case, actually, where it goes to show no matter what success you've had, there's always something to learn about the mental game. There's always growth to be made. There's always new things that come up. So she's a really good example of always wanting more and continuing to grow. Michael is here at the CSI event right now.
Yednak.
Yep.
Michael Yednak.
Michael Yednak. And he's been learning a lot about himself, actually. He's been through a really big transition in the last 6 months, I would say.
Did the principles you teach, can they help you outside of pool as well?
Oh, yeah. And most of the time, actually, our session typically involves life on top of pool because
they go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yep. What happens in life will affect you at the pool table. Oh, maybe not guaranteed, but, it does work out that way sometimes.
And your other sponsor players?
So Donnie Mills, he just has such a good composure already, but I noticed there's a couple of things that he could use some improvements with. So I was just chatting with him yesterday, and I, kind of offered it to him, like, would this interest you? Do you want to kind of do this with me? And he was all for it. He just went hill with John Schmidt, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Donnie's coming off a really big win yesterday, the upset of the day in day one of the World 10 Ball Championships and beating Yap. And you gotta have on paper, no disrespect, but Donnie was a big underdog to Yap. So to go and not just get ahead early on, but to finish him off. That takes some strength.
Well, and we've seen Donnie before. I mean, I think he's had a couple third place finishes at the U.S. Open. He's got talent wise. I mean, it's off the charts.
He's on the cusp.
Yeah,
he's right there. That's why I really wanted to work with him. I'm like, you're right there. I want to get you there. I want to help you get there. So.
Is it guys outside of pool too? Because I know Joey's got some star soccer players in his stable back at home.
Yeah, we talked about that, right?
Yep. So I do work with all athletes. I've worked with an MMA fighter, basketball player. I do work with all sports right now. I'm just very specific with pool players, but I'm able to work with any athlete.
Awesome. Well, guys, we're here chatting with Tara Donnino with Insight Performance Coaching. And so do us a favor, like and share this. We're just here having a chat at the CSI Expo. She's here telling us about the mental game. In fact, I'd like to see from you guys any questions you might have from Tara. So if you would, go ahead and hit up the chat. Mike, we got a couple people who commented already.
Emily's comment on there?
Yeah, Emily Frazier says, I love this. Please give Tara my details. I'd like to discuss how she can impact the matchroom events.
Love it.
Man.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah, my buddy Tanner Pruce, who's a instructor in South Dakota, he said this will be a good interview. Tanner is like really big on process over results. Tell us about that. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, any opportunity for growth is going to be the main focus because you can't think dichotomously. You can't think black, white, yes, no, succeed, fail. It doesn't work that way. For sure.
Yeah, because I'm like, man, I want to win.
Of course. But when you're able to learn the why, when you're able to learn what's my goal of the day, and it might not be winning, it very well could just be, you know what, I need to stay down on every shot. I've been struggling. I've been popping up. I've been jabbing at it. You know, maybe your goal is just to stay down on every shot and the win would come. You know, that might not be the main goal every single time. It's more process oriented.
The most satisfying year I ever had playing pool, I didn't win any tournaments. So I was on the Planet Pool Tour, and I played one year, and I got tired of losing to everybody I was supposed to lose to and beating everybody I was supposed to beat. And I was like, this is so unsatisfying. I'd finish like 7th, 8th, and I'd lose to Brandon Schuff. I'd lose to Mike Davis. You know, I'd lose to the best players, but I'd beat all the players I was supposed to beat. And I'm like, I feel like I plateaued. I'm wasting my time. And so I set a goal for myself the following year that in every tournament I played in, I would beat one player that was better than me. Okay. And that was my goal. And I did it every tournament. And I had some of the best victories I've had ever. I beat Brandon Schuff. I beat Mike Davis. I beat Matt Clatterbuck. I beat all these really good players out in Virginia, Maryland area. And it was just so fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I felt the growth. And so the next year I said, okay, now I'm going to win these tournaments. And I didn't do that. So maybe I tried to step too high from that.
But you know what I love? It's about taking positives out of anything, you know, and not being able to get down. And it's easy to go and say it, but it's hard when you've learned your whole life certain things. Maybe you just, you know, used to kind of being down about things or getting discouraged. You're never too old to learn new processes and to learn new behaviors and new steps to go and take. And that's what really intrigued me whenever I heard about this.
You know how hard pool players are on themselves. You know it. You see how critical and how defeating they could be in their own heads. I mean, there needs to be a balance to that. Otherwise, it's all deflating. You know, oh my God, I suck. You know, all of this negativity. You need to counter that at some point with, you know what, but I had a couple of great bank shots. Yeah. You know, you have to balance that out. Otherwise, you know,
like Joey said, the wins, right? Along the way. Yeah. You know, it's funny because you can go and ask players about their victories, right? Top players, and they'll remember them. But you know what they remember vividly? It's the losses. It's the shots that came up where they missed them. I mean, you could – they're bringing up like some shot in like 2012, and they can tell you the exact layout. And it's incredible.
Do you know why they remember that? Because a heartbreak is a very powerful feeling. When your heart breaks from one shot – or one moment that you know you could have done differently, you know you could have done better, that sticks with you more than a success because it's expected. They have that standard. I should be doing this. But if they don't do something they know they're capable of, that'll eat at them.
I'm really curious about how you feel about the timing of you launching this business, given the fact that we've had the pandemic. We know mental health is a huge issue across the country, even outside of sports. And now it's like there's an overflow. There's an abundance of pool tournaments going on. The calendar is completely full. The players are scrambling from, you know, place to place, and the formats are different and things are happening here. There was an issue at one point with the tables. They got that resolved, which is great. There's all these things that kind of go through these players' heads. Do you feel like you've selected the perfect time to launch?
Yeah, I really do. And honestly, because I'm a licensed therapist by day, I've been doing this for so long. If you were to say something about your life that had happened or anxiety, or, maybe, there's something a little bit deeper going on, I can handle that. Like I'm the full picture. It's not just pool, but
That's
obviously I want to help with the mental game itself. But, I have this overarching field in my play too.
A real important question. Do you do marriage counseling at
I
all?
sure do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike and I are going to need it.
Maybe
Yes.
signing up. Yeah.
In all seriousness, I want to ask Mike a question.
Yeah.
When you're not playing your best, because she works with everybody, even the lowest of the low. So when you're not playing your best and you're struggling, what's going through your mind?
It's tough, man. I mean, I go in there open minded, right? Like when I'm gonna go play, even if because I'm just competitive by nature. I don't care if I'm playing for fun with a buddy of mine or playing in a tournament. I'm a competitive guy, and I like having standards for myself. But it's tough whenever I don't go and execute, and it's real easy for me to get in here, And if
What does that mean?
like just get down on myself, man. When I'm frustrated and I miss the ball, that I'm like, I should put that damn ball down,
Yeah.
or I should have gotten that shake that I'm supposed to go and get,
Mhm.
And you see it from top players all the time. I mean, I brought up Mika jokingly, but even the best players in the world champions, will go and have their emotions on different ranges, and it's cool because it kind of humanizes it and makes me relate to them even more. But I guess for me, it's like I'm open to wanting to learn how to overcome, how to persevere, how to be resilient during those moments, and take those successes that even if I'm not getting to 9 first or to 7 first, whatever the race is, to be able to pull victories in other ways. I think it's so important, and it'll carry you through all aspects of your life. I'm a firm believer in that because it's about being positive, man, just in general.
Is that a story that you hear often? Like,
It's a story I would hope to hear often. That I don't necessarily hear it often, but I think just to build off of that too, it's very telling when you make decisions based off of maybe some shots you missed. Your decision making skills are impacted based on how confident you feel in the middle of the
point.
match. So when you show heart by going for shots that might be a little challenging, even though you missed maybe easier shots earlier in the match, that is the resiliency.
Well, but the other side of it you can go and argue is maybe because you're emotional, you took a flyer that maybe you shouldn't have, and maybe it wasn't
Mhm.
percentage wise, maybe in your favor.
Mhm.
I love that there's different things to go and debate on this topic because it's very fascinating.
Your emotions really impact your
Yeah.
decision making skills.
So before Mike and I got together, I started Pool Player Podcast. And the idea behind that is that I've known so many pool players over the years, and I think sometimes they're judged by a moment of weakness, right? Or a moment of something didn't go well in a match for
Mhm.
them.
Mhm.
And when that happened, they maybe did not act the way
Right.
they would want to have acted. But then I've gotten to know them afterwards, and when I did, they were like cool people.
Mhm.
And so I thought about my life, and there's many times in my life where I haven't behaved the way I would like to behave. So one of the ideas with Pool Player Podcast was get people to know the pool players themselves
Yeah.
and who they are outside of that. But does any of your work focus on off the table, like,
Character.
well, character and their behavior off the table, around the table?
Yeah. And it's amazing how many people could be judged based off of that one moment too. I mean, people are so deep that one surface level emotion or reaction doesn't, dictate who they are as a person. So that's definitely something I, work with too. Just character development, what pool means to you, how this is impacting your life.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike had to step out for a second. We have some products over here that we're also selling, and nobody comes to buy before we have an interview. But as soon as we have an interview, we have 5 people here. No, but I think about the impact that could have. One fatal moment where somebody is caught on camera doing something, or something
Right.
happens, that could ruin sponsorships. That could ruin all kinds of things. So that's incredibly important.
And it takes a lot too for somebody to overcome something like that based on reputation, how people are perceiving me now. And it's amazing what could happen to a player though when someone has a little faith in them.
So we give out a lot of free content, and obviously you have a business where people are paying for it. But is there any tidbit of free advice that you could give for the viewers out there?
Yeah, one of my favorite things to teach. Um, Like I said earlier, pool players are very critical of themselves, and it's a natural response. I'm not trying to change people so drastically, but one thing that I do want to teach is whatever your natural thought is, if you miss an easy shot or maybe you struggle in some capacity, think what you think. Oh my God, I can't believe I just missed that shot. I suck. And then end that sentence with the word but and change the direction of the thought. So, for example, I can't believe I missed that shot. I'm such an idiot. But next time I get to the table, I'm going to make it a different opportunity. I'm going to capitalize. Change the thought so that it's hopeful, encouraging, a little bit more neutral than just as,
No, I
bunch of
love that.
negativity. So add the word but at the end of any negative
And then
sentence
turn it
to
end it with
redirect.
because you don't want to end anything on a negative.
Right.
Right. That's
And give
not a-
yourself a fighting chance. You don't have to have that weigh on you throughout the rest of the match. You have to kind of take off that weighted vest. Otherwise, you're going to be carrying that extra weight throughout the match based on one shot.
So you watch your students
Mhm.
and you watch the sponsor players you have,
Mhm.
and you pick up on things with their mechanics and other things. I'm curious to know, out of other players that you've seen, who do you think may have the strongest mental games from what you see out there? Is there anybody you could pick out and say, wow, that person really overcomes a lot, or I don't know, just
Wow, that's a good question. I think
on the spot?
everybody has their moments, and I see it so minimally sometimes, but wow, I would probably say Shane. He's just so composed. I see little things, but I would say an overall composure, mental game, I would say Shane has a
Hey,
very
welcome
solid.
back, dogging
I'm
it.
sorry. It's like Joey said, we've been kind of dead at times throughout the event, and then as soon as we go live, it seems like everybody wants to come around.
See, let me
hang
give
out.
you an example just now. You got up to leave, and this is a perfect example of how to roll with distractions. He acknowledged you leaving, made a comment, and then kept going with his questions.
Knowing Joey, he probably just made a dig about me. That's how it goes.
No.
Well, I want to let's expand on the Shane thing a little bit.
Mhm.
And I know we're not here to in any way bash any player. I asked her, like, out of the players that she sees out there, she looks at the physical motions that they go through as well as trying to read how they're handling things mentally. And I said, who would be that player that you kind of look at out there, not your students, but someone else who can handle the pressure mentally? And she said Shane. Paraphrase.
Did I watch the
Yeah.
Moscone Cup? Yeah.
Well, that's
It reminds me of one thing that stuck out to us and that we talked about during the Moscone Cup was Shane's body language at certain times when maybe they had gotten in a hole, or the third day rather, and that's why I was kind of surprised hearing Shane of all players whenever
That's a
Shane-
team event, so a
For
little
sure.
bit more out of his
and
control.
he's
in
used
that.
to being like
Mhm.
he's used to being the alpha, the guy to only depend on himself. So it's
Mhm.
a completely different aspect.
Mhm.
For
So
sure.
the frustrations at the Moscone Cup couldn't be
That's fair.
out of his
Yeah.
control.
Yeah.
But I see your point.
yeah.
Way to go,
So
Joey.
if you could pick the perfect client, tell us who that would be.
The one
Like-
who's willing to work.
Yeah.
The one
I
who
like that
wants
answer.
to improve. The one who wants to learn about themselves. And sometimes it might get worse before it gets better, to be honest. Sometimes I ask things that I have no business asking, but that's how you learn. That's how you grow.
You got to break it down to build it up. Man.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So again, let people know how they can reach you. We want to make sure that your information is out there. Actually, let me put your email or whatever it is up on the screen.
Mhm.
So I forgot to do that. I'm dogging it.
Great job, buddy.
Hold on. Okay. Do you have a
And we can go
website?
and also post the information on the social media
Okay.
platforms as well.
Okay, it's www.insight. Let's see how quick I can type this. Performance coaching. Very
Talk about
simple and
homework, Joey.
straightforward.com. Here we go. Yeah, I dogged that one.
And Facebook, Instagram, Twitter are all the same name.
There we go,
Oh,
guys.
yeah?
Insight
Awesome.
Performance Coaching. That's how you get a hold of Tara. Now, Tara, to the marriage counseling for me and Mike. You've sat with us now for, let's see, 29 minutes.
Is there any hope?
You
to be
guys are
had?
going to make it.
We're going to make it?
Wow. Okay, that's good because I was already signing the divorce papers, my man.
No, but
I have faith.
you know what's really interesting, and this might have a kind of an application in Scotch doubles as well. There's
Yeah.
certain things Mike is really good at, and I'm terrible at. And there's certain things that I do better, and he doesn't really. Well,
Opposites
he actually-
attract. That's adorable.
he patronizes me a lot.
It's
And
really
says, "Oh,
true.
you're better
No,
at
see, now here's the
writing.
thing
Write
is
this
that
letter."
I try to give my man a compliment, right, or give him some love, And he'll go and say that, don't patronize me, Mike. And I'm like, man, I legitimately think you do that really, really well and much better than me.
Yeah.
But you know what I love about it is that when I need him, he's there. When there's moments in a conversation or an interview or whatever, we vibe off each other. You know, we can both kind of just feel it and when to pick each other up or when to go and jump in, and we got a good rhythm, man.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe
So in sync.
there's some hope.
So Tara, last question: who's going to win the World 10 Ball?
Ooh.
If you say Donnie Mills, I swear I'm out of here.
I can't answer that. There's 2 sponsored players of mine. I
That's
can't
fair.
do
That's
it.
fair.
No.
That's like, which
If-
kid do you
okay,
like better?
This is what every player we've had sit in the chair, we've asked them, if not you, then who? If not your sponsored
There you
players,
go. I like that.
then who?
Okay.
Way to spin it, buddy.
I would love to see an underdog win it. I would love to see somebody off the beaten path.
Way to put her on the
Like
spot.
maybe,
Yeah,
a,
I'm
maybe
really-
a Blake Baker, or a Justin Martin, or
I would love
Shane
to see
Walker.
like Jeremy Sosi win it. I would love
That'd
to
be good.
see him.
Jeremy
Yeah.
Sasse.
The way he says his last name puts me on massive tilt. I don't know why. Massive tilt. That's why
I
we
don't
have issues, man. He does it to go and you know it's
Or-
gonna get a rise
Or
out.
like Hunter Lombardo, somebody just that you have that's been on the cusp, like I said, you
Yeah.
know, somebody there that, you know.
Just waiting to break through.
He's due for
Yeah.
a win.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we appreciate you being on. I'm sorry I had to jump out in the middle of it, but yeah, this is a lot of fun and very insightful, and I'm looking forward to finding out more information, man. So please go check out the website, the Facebook, the Instagram, and you can also, if you follow her on Instagram, because I know I do, on Insight Performance Coaching, there's a lot of little nuggets that I take out of there that get me off the bridge sometimes. So go and follow there as well.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, guys, for
Well,
having
thank
me.
you.
We appreciate it.
Okay.